movie that offers critique about the past couple of years the world has been locked down and slowly but surely stripped of all their freedoms. Sign me up. 2025. The World Enslaved by a Virus is one of the most awful movies I have ever seen. Not the most awful, but it's up there. The redeeming factor is that it's hilariously bad. Written, directed and acted by the Weasley brothers. Those super famous Christian brothers you might recognize on all types of billboards created something very special here. The story is simple. Christianity is pretty much illegal. People have gone underground and all of that is due to COVID and the measures. Simon Weasley plays Roy, a devout Christian who, together with his other devout Christian and probably virgin friend Hannah, will bring back Christianity and fights the oppressive governments across the world with badly sprayed pink and blue fishes and DVDs. Hundreds of DVDs. To claim that Mr. Weasley seems to have a little bit of a messiah complex is an understatement. He attempts to have inspiring speeches, thought-provoking discussions and a whole lot of teachable moments where you learn about Christian fishes and what Christianity is. There's even a small mass that apparently, according to the blooper credits, was so hilarious to one person he couldn't keep himself from laughing. Everything about this flick is awful, from the acting to the script, the sets, the filming. I can only explain how bad it is by telling you I added my own dialogues while watching it, out loud, mocking everything I saw every minute played before me. The idea of the film is okay, but the execution is dreadful, with long shots of people walking around trying to spread the word to a clearly inexisting population. It's too limited with its cast of 10 and the budget and execution doesn't convey the grand-scale world-changing events they are attempting from their German apartment with their internet connection and DVD spindle. Watch it with friends if you want to have a laugh. Drop that. Scream is the 5th installment of the Scream franchise about a killer, or more than one of them, taking out college friends and other peeps wearing black robes and a weird ghost mask. Returning after 15 years and half a dozen of parodies, Scream 5, simply named Scream because the powers that be slowly want to erase everything that was good that came before so we can keep spending money on mediocre new crap, brings back some old characters in a reboot, or, as the movie calls it, a sequel that is a reboot, and here we illustrate the problem with this movie. It's too meta. This franchise shows a world where actual events created a movie franchise which in its turn created a copycat killer performing that franchise while the would-be victims are using said franchise to survive. And all of this is luckily done without breaking the fourth wall, but it's still too on the nose. I lost count on how many times they attempted to do the figure behind a door trick to induce tension and a scare. Let's not even mention the moment where a person is watching the original fake Scream version of a person watching another Scream-like movie warning the on-screen character of their impending doom while the actual character of this movie does the same thing as the killer sneaks up on her. The big problem is that the character in the fake movie ends up saying the same words way too much, which makes it even more unlikely. It's just stupid. And that's the second problem this movie has. It's stupid. There are plot holes. Some of the acting, especially from Courtney Cox, is just atrocious. Maybe she had one too many facelifts, but everything out of her humongous mouth felt like she never had an acting gig in her life. Let's not even mention that it's boring as fuck, unscary and gets overshadowed by its parodies at every step it takes. Let's mention, however, that they still managed to inject current-day narratives in this movie to make some kind of point. Toxic fandom is an outright dog whistle of incel virgins people. Eye-rolling, cheap, basic. Just drop this, fellas, and go watch the original first two and the two first scary movies instead. Drop that. Peacemaker brings back previously cancelled James Inappropriate Jokes Gun, who makes a tongue-in-cheek series about the peace-loving killer called Peacemaker from that one movie that did the Suicide Squad almost right, also made by Mr. Gunn. In Peacemaker we follow Peacemaker, played again by John Cena, after his escapades in the movie as he gets recruited again into a team of loser misfits to uncover yet another world-threatening plot involving, bear with me, butterflies. His new team has the token big black woman, the blonde man-hating bombshell, the black boss and the fat white loser. There's the white serial killer friend and the white supremacist father and his happy band of racists and not Nazis. Peacemaker gets a little bit more emotional than he was in the movie, showing his vulnerable side more than once as he tries to convince everyone that he is a good guy and not some outright racist murderer. And overall, he kinda succeeds in that cause, quite frankly. Who gives a fuck? Oh, there's also the Asian chips-eating midget ninja and some other less interesting characters. The show is stolen, however, by Eagly, a real American bald eagle who is smarter than most eagles but not that smart after all. Regardless, he's awesome, and so is the weird dance during the intro, and the musical choices in general consisting of all kinds of glam rock and other hair band greats. It's fun. Mostly, the humor, as usual, is hit and miss, but it has heart. Much like Peacemaker and the others in the cast who are dealing with their own shit. We all have shit. We all are broken somehow, and only together we can heal. Luckily it also has action and violence. I hear you asking me, however, is it woke? Well, it is at certain spots, but I think it balances the whole dichotomy decently. There's a little modern feminism and patriarchy bullshit put in it. The bad dad trope is a major element in the whole show, but in the long run, Peacemaker, as a character and a series, is just sunny only like everyone in this world. He has his good sides. He has his bad sides. He has flaws and strengths, and he, nor any other of his cast members, are Michael Burnham-like goddesses who can do everything and are loved by everyone. They're all very flawed people, and that's fine, cause we all are flawed people having fun, and that's pretty much the least woke thing you can do. But yeah, white supremacy outright blah blah, we get it, Hollywood. You have skeletons in your closet. Time to stop reflecting, but luckily Peacemaker does not reflect too much. It's a fun show for what it is. Could it be better and more akin to the comics? Yes, but it could have been a lot worse looking at all the awful comics-based series we have been seeing the past few years. Looking at you, Flash, Black Dynamite, Batwoman, and that other one I can't be asked to look the name up for. Check this out. It's fun. All we need is fun. Check that. Bobobo-Bo Bo-Bobo is a Japanese anime series based on the manga of the same name. In this series we follow Bobobo-Bo Bo-Bobo, a weird guy with a blonde afro who, together with his companion Beauty, is battling against the Margarito Empire, who is eager to remove every hair follicle on the planet. With his magical blonde hair, his super duper long nose hair, and friends like Don Batch, a thing that looks like a sun and a hedgehog and other stuff, he sets out to bring down the evil empire. During the complete run of Bobobo-Bo Bo-Bobo, you will experience extremely crazy antics, an incredible amount of dad jokes and puns, and a whole lot of parodying of famous shows like Dragon Ball Z, Saint Seiya, Fist of the North Star, and many others. It's hyperactive from start to finish, with people yelling like only Japanese actors can, people gasping like only Japanese gasp, and a whole lot of other stuff that will eventually, at least for me binging this stuff, gets quite difficult to watch. Characters will switch sides. Plot twists will happen multiple times an episode, and even the recap of the last episode is something unique. Often not even a recap of the actual previous episode. The fourth wall-breaking Bobobo-Bo Bo-Bobo episodes are mostly fun, comedic, and entertaining. The animation itself is fine, although more of the basic anime stuff we expect from long-running shows, especially in the lip-syncing conversational aspects. Bobobo-Bo Bo-Bobo is quite the treat, but beware that, if you're crazy like me, might get burned out fast with it and hope it will end sooner than later. All in all, I appreciated Bobobo-Bo Bo-Bobo for what it was, a crazy children's cartoon for kids who ate way too much sugar. Check that. La Polizia sta guardare, or the police stands watch, known in the English regions as The Great Kidnapping, is an Italian cops and crime movie from the early 70s about a cop in an Italian city rampant with crime. Italy in the 70s was well known for its crime and a large amount of kidnappings, and the movie takes this era, portraying it as well as possible from the view of a cop who doesn't want to be fucked with. We follow him solving some cases on his own. not quite Dirty Harry but still badass way, with varying success until suddenly he gets a call that his son is kidnapped and he has to weigh his ethics with a love for his family. The Great Kidnapping is an effective and dark cop story that pulls no punches, but it's nothing new if you have seen other cop shows or movies. What makes this movie so effective though is the way it's filmed and played. It just looks and feels real. It's tense, it's gritty, it pulls no punches. Smash that. Cryptozoo is a weird artsy-fartsy animation with some Hollywood actors that looks more like an animation school final exam than something you would see on the big screen. It reminded me very much of the 1973 animation film Fantastic Planet, both in style and the way it was animated. In Cryptozoo we have an ugly guy and an ugly girl having sex in the woods and talking nonsensical shit to each other up to the point they start wandering through a forest naked and find a large fence. Climbing over this large fence, the couple finds a unicorn and quickly gets killed. Flash forward to another butch woman who is actually a cryptic hunter. Cryptids, for those who don't know, are beasts and animals of mythical or legendary status, unconfirmed by the scientific community. Creates like unicorns, Pegasi, the kraken, goblins, chupacabra and others. These women hunt them so they can put them in a zoo for all to enjoy. Of course they also want money for it, cause everything needs financial aid, am I right? So we see what happens when these two women with their utopian idea try to capture the most sought after cryptic in the world. And no, it's not Harry from Harry and the Hendersons. It's sufficient to say that things happen. Cryptozoo is a difficult movie. It's one of those films that you will either love or hate. I personally didn't like animation, didn't like the art, the script, the acting and the overall progression of the story, but mostly the ugly art and lackluster animation. I know it's stylistic and that we are spoiled, but I expect a little bit more. I mean, my left arm is animated better than this film. Anyways, I applaud them for trying, but to me this was a failure. Watch the first 10 minutes and you'll know if this is something for you. Drop that. Sin is an indie horror movie made by and featuring Donjon Angel, someone who seems to have watched a movie and decided, hey, I can do that. And so he set forth to make a movie about some kind of guy with a burlap sack on his head and glowing red eyes. He's part Jason Voorhees, part Candyman, part whatever demonic entity that walks around, and he's killing people. At least that's implied most of the time, since plenty of this movie is weird cuts to other people. We have a couple of women in a loony bin spouting nonsense. There's a vlogger asking us to like and subscribe to the most awful rendition of a streamer in recent history. Plenty of newsreels with female news anchors and stock footage intros. All this weaves a story about this mysterious entity that haunts and kills people, with some suspected results as the film progresses. Sin really isn't a good movie. The acting sucks. Cinematography is basic as fuck. He even uses textures and static overlays to make it at least a bit more interesting, even covering up a scene they clearly weren't able to make a well enough gory kill from. Let's not even mention the script and plot and the snores you'll have. It's just amazingly bad. Not the worst, but it's down there. Only watch if you want to see how it's not done. Drop that. A while back I reviewed the 2021 movie Nightmare Alley, a remake of the 1947 movie of the same name that I have now watched for comparison's sake. In Nightmare Alley, a confidence man joins a carnival and through lies and deceit becomes a mentalist who wants to con rich folk by using his box of tricks. Unfortunately, he didn't pay attention in the religious lessons he took as a child and forgot all about the concept of what comes around, goes around. High trees catch lots of wind and don't fly too close to the sun. The 1947 version of Nightmare Alley follows the story beats as the remake, and of course the novel of the same name, though this version doesn't go as deep into certain aspects as the 21 version. We get less backstory, less scenes, and have to fill in a lot more information in contrast to the new version, and that isn't really a big deal. This movie is 40 minutes shorter and could have used a bit more, but personally I understand why they didn't do more. It's just filling. This is a snappy, rough cut type beat, look toots, you're a dame baby, short, sweet movie a quickie. Whereas the remake is much more elaborate. There's nothing in the 47 version that isn't in the new one, so I'd recommend this only to people who want to compare and delve in more into this version. It doesn't look as good, of course, but the actors all have this late 40s noir charm that is lacking in the new one. Oh, and the ending, that's, to no one's surprise, is different too, and I kinda liked it. Go watch it. Go watch both. It's good stuff. Smash that. In Spider-Man No Way Home, we once again get young Tom Holland come back as the third modern iteration of the beloved Spider-Man character in his third film, not including all his appearances in the other MCU movies. No Way Home, still owned by Sony, after finally joining the rest of the gang some time ago, decides to go all out and merge their previous, non-MCU movies into the mix, bringing them, effectively, into the MCU while still reaping all those financial benefits. Now the most profitable movie of the past few years and the sixth highest grossing movie of all time, it's safe to say that No Way Home is quite the success. And with reason. Peter Parker, in his last movie with Mysterio, gets outed by J. Jonah Jameson as being the Spider-Man and vilified after his so-called confession is aired worldwide. Parker and pals see their worlds turn upside down, so he ventures to Doctor Strange to rectify things, because messing with time and space and magic always works out well. And of course, shit hits the fan. And, spoilers, multiverses collide and we get several fan-favorite villains pop up in the MC universe to fight Spidey. All kinds of action occurs and plenty of emotional moments that fell flat for me. Some humoristic moments, some winks and nods, and a satisfying end fight that gets dragged along a little too long, up to 2 hours and 28 minutes. The appearance of the two other Spideys is fun, but it can safely be called something that's done for the fans. And that is fine. It's what was needed in a time where fandom is mistreated and spat upon. All the characters get the respect they deserve and none are being pushed down in favor of some character nobody cares about. Zendaya still is the weakest part of the movie, and I am a fan of her acting in Euphoria, by the way. Seeing she is just Zendaya on the screen and doesn't offer me enough to like her depiction of Mary Jane. For the rest, there's not much to say about this film. It's a lead up to more MCU with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, where the events in this movie collide with those from the Super WandaVision and possibly the dreadful Loki series. It all looks fancy, but fancy doesn't make a good movie, as we all know. Let's hope they treat fans in that movie with as much respect as they did in this one. For as far as that is possible, that is, seeing both Loki as well as WandaVision once again had an agenda-pushing nonsense and bad plot in it. Time will tell. As for this movie, definitely a must-watch for fans of any of the Spider-Man series. Guess I'll finally have to go see the Andrew Garfield Amazing Spider-Man movies though. Sigh. Wish me luck. Check that. Vikings Valhalla is a sequel to the immensely popular and insanely cool Vikings series that ran for 6 seasons on Netflix after being bought up from the History Channel. Vikings Valhalla fast-forwards us 100 years into the future, bringing in an all-new cast who still enjoy name-dropping and member-bury those heroes and legends from times long ago. We follow Ulf Erikson and his crew arriving from Greenland in their fictitious city of Kattegat. You remember Kattegat, right? That's cat's ass in Dutch, by the way. There, we learn that one of his friends, Freda Zera tilde KSDA tilde cubed, played by beautiful Swedish Frida Gustafsson, is plotting revenge on some guy who wronged her. Suffice to say, the person who wronged her isn't some small potato, and things get tricky quite quickly. Also quite dicky, cause being at sea for months makes you want to have sex. Yes, there's sex in this, much like Vikings, and violence and lots of blood, though not as much as in that Spartacus series. Regardless, we follow a new batch of Vikings as their society changes under the pressures of expansion and, more so, religion, as Christianity spreads far and wide, converting many pagans, often by force, to accept the Lord Jesus Christ as their savior. Plenty of intrigue, plenty of history, violence, bloodshed, plenty of politics, and it's all quite enthralling despite most of the cast not having the same amount of charisma the Vikings cast had. It's the first season though, so we'll forget about that stuff, though I'm not sure how many seasons they can milk from this. As mentioned previously, there's politics in it. Normal politics we all wish to see, with kings and courts and other people vying for power. Unfortunately, there's also current day politics seeping in, and that's more annoying, especially when they do it as blatantly as to change a real life person, not only in gender but also in race. Jarl Hakan is a female Jarl with dark skin and is mentioned in the show coming from Africa. It's all fine and dandy, and of course the showrunners defend this by saying she's an amalgamation of several stories and characters, but when you know that the actual Jarl Hakan Sigurdsson was a white Norse male, I tend to wonder about the objective of this change. Why change a real person? I know, it's a thing with me, but I do think historic movies and series change stuff way too much and for little reason. You can't get everything right, but at least try to stick with it as close as possible. I'm sure there were many different shades of Vikings, probably even 50. But why not give us the real Jarl Hakan with a glorious beard and let his woman be black? The show has no problem showing us strong women using their wits and brawn, so why not show the true power of a queen once again in this way? Perhaps because they already have 4 other queens and a myriad of other female characters doing the same, but still, Vikings Valhalla isn't Vikings. It feels close enough, but it clearly feels like a sequel. I enjoyed it quite a bit, but the coolness factor of the Vikings isn't that great in this show. Something which might be okay since the Viking age was ending at this point. I'm eager to see what other seasons might bring, and if they are going to tackle Ulf's journey to Newfoundland, maybe picking up what was hinted at in the final season of Vikings, and have a clash of cultures between the Viking settlers and the natives. Time will tell. Valhalla is okay if you can look past the bullshit Netflix enjoys pulling. We'll see how it progresses in further seasons. Check that.